Drew Sutton Leadership Show, lighting the way with real leaders, real stories, and real impacts. Because when leaders stop growing, the darkness wins. All right, welcome to another amazing episode of the Drew Sutton Leadership Show. Today's guest, Kaelyn Query, is a powerhouse of creativity and entrepreneurial grit. Kaelyn Query is a published multi-award-winning and event producer with over 20 years of experience in event management, catering, operations, and marketing. She launched her first company in high school and officially registered it in 2013 and hasn't slowed down since. Now she serves as director of the Center for Entrepreneurship at Transylvania University and teaches as an adjunct instructor. Kaelyn's work is about more than business. It's about building community. From mentoring students to producing unforgettable events worldwide, she leads with her heart and hustle. She also hosts the Big Ideas Small Business Podcast, where she keeps it real about what it takes to launch, run, and grow a business today. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Kaelyn.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I think that we got in touch because I saw that you got the director for the Center of Entrepreneurship over at Transy, which is pretty cool. How did that come about?
Yeah, so I was teaching classes at another university here in Lexington, where I live, and I was teaching sales and customer service, and they were kind of watching. One of the professors at Transy was watching, and she reached out and said, "Hey, we've got this intro to entrepreneurship class. Would you be interested in leading that?" Which was more in the realm of what I wanted to teach. Which is ironic because as, an undergrad, I actually didn't love going to school, but now I'm like a continuing education junkie. But taught the class. Apparently people liked it. So they asked me to come back for another semester and mentioned that this class was part of a larger position that had gone away with COVID that they wanted to bring back. And that was the director for the Center for Entrepreneurship. So I agreed to teach the class again. I came on kind of in a consulting role with them last year to figure out what the center was going to look like. What did the programming look like? How is it going to work? They had put together a council, so I helped with that and kind of get those folks up and running, and then just see how it's going to work. They got a very generous alumni donation to build a physical center and to relaunch the program, and then they asked me to come back on as the full-time director. So, I like to have lots of full-time jobs apparently, but it's been a lot of fun and very exciting, and I'm excited to be there.
Yeah. So talk real quick about the difference between teaching in a liberal arts college and more of a technical college. Because a lot of times when people talk about entrepreneurship, they teach it like, well, you need to find a problem, then do a market research, which those technical skills are important. But I think that one of the things that Transy is good at is the more liberal arts approach, more holistic approach. Do you like that? Do you not like? Obviously, love it because your bosses might watch this. But tell me what it's like to teach in liberal arts.
So I will say that I didn't go to Transy for undergrad, and it was a vastly different experience than what I experienced in undergrad. They have a much tighter community there. It's a smaller school, right? So there's 1,000 students. Naturally, you can be closer to them than a school that has, 50,000. But their alumni are aggressively passionate about being Transy grads in a good way. Mm-hmm. They rally. I have called, I have asked, they have said yes tenfold. And also you need to talk to my fraternity brother, my roommate, my sister, my whoever. And it's been great. I do think that the liberal arts approach is unique in the fact that you get to experience a little bit of everything. So our programming is really geared towards all of the students. We'll have programming related to political science and government relations, pre-law, art and music, general business, because we may have a grad that wants to launch an art studio or opens up a law firm or opens up their own, medical practice. So we want to make sure that if that's something that they aspire to, that they're prepared for that. And I think the liberal arts model allows you to do that in a much more unique way and much more meaningful way, right? Like classes that you actually need to do things in the real world.
Yeah.
And not some of the others that maybe are good on paper, but don't necessarily help you in the long run.
I love it. Okay, so let's go back to a little bit earlier in your career. What was your first business? You said, so the notes here say that you started a business in high school,
Yes.
and you rolled on with that. Is that the events business or was that something else?
Yes. So I had an internship in high school. I really wanted to be an interior designer. A very long story made much shorter. I went for the first day, and let's just say it was not a fit. So um, I went back to the guy that was teaching it and said, I cannot go back. So they moved me to a catering company here in Lexington, and I really enjoyed it. Catering was on my list of interests. My family is in the food and beverage industry, and I never thought it would be a career until I went and worked there and loved it. I went back for 2 more rotations, started working for them part-time after school, and then started doing events on the side of that. So back then I probably did maybe 10 events a year, mostly for my parents' friends or their clients. These were small, house parties for their clients or their, office staff. These weren't huge events, but I did the food, I did the design, I did the management. I'd hire my coworkers from the catering company to come and work it with me, and I made approximately $0. I understand how to charge for my time. So I would just give them the receipts of the ingredients I had bought from Kroger and was like, here's what it cost me. So I went to my dad and said, I just don't understand how small business owners make money. And he said, yeah, same. And he owns his own business. So he was like, I too understand that. But what do you mean? And so I got a very quick lesson in charging for your time.
Yeah.
Forward past college, I was managing a restaurant that had announced they were closing and made the leap to launch this full time. So of course, that was in 2011, 2012. And I took my very sweet time getting my EIN, named, and it was meaningful and it was so important. Everybody was going to think it was great. And no one really knew from the name what we were doing. So
What was the name?
the name was Lex Effect, and it was supposed to be the effect we have on Lexington through events, entertainment, and the community. And it sounded real cool and jazzy, but if you just said Lex Effect, no, they were like, are you a marketing company? Are you a design company? Are you a catering company? What do you do?
So my first company I called Barksdale Rutherford. Actually, it's still the LLC that I run things out of because it's there and it has history, and I do kind of like it. But yeah, everybody I told else with Barksdale, they're like,
why?
What is it? And then I had to spell it. Like,
Yeah.
you would not know how many times you have to type out your email address to somebody, and you're like, it's Barksdale, B-A-R. It was horrible.
Yep.
So my new company, Drew Sutton Leadership,
easier,
is
much
much
easier.
more straightforward.
Well, and everyone always wanted to put an S on the end of it, Lex Effects. And I was like, we are having multiple effects, but this is just one effect for the company name. So, and then it just kept going. I mean, I never really truly thought it would be a career, but here we are several years later, not with that same company, but in the same industry. And then many other things too.
So I think maybe because I'm a nut for hospitality. Actually, a lot of people ask me, how did you go from engineering to leadership coaching? Which to me is such a silly question because engineering is just organizing systems, which is what leadership is. They're very, very closely related. But for me, it's always been about hospitality. How do I serve the people and give them the things that they need? And I just know that a lot of people don't have the technical skill to make the things they need. So I wanted to be an engineer so I could make cool things for people. So for you, entrepreneurship and hospitality, do they cross over? What are your thoughts?
Oh yeah. Most of the folks in our industry are entrepreneurs. They're business owners. They're small business owners. And because of the nature of our industry, you have to be scrappy. You have to pivot. There's constantly cash flow issues and workforce problems. And not that those things don't exist for other industries, but especially since COVID, it seems like our industry is just constantly like one new hurdle after another. So, many entrepreneurs come from many other sectors, but I do feel obviously a little extra love for our food and beverage folks, our hospitality people.
So this is fun. I feel that the world has changed since COVID. I think it has to do with culture. In my mind, like I have this really good friend in town. His name is Nick, and he and I think would be best friends if we lived closer to each other, but we don't get to see each other all the time. So after COVID, we got back together and we could not talk to each other. Like we had nothing in common because he had been binging these shows and I had been binging these shows. And so that cultural thread, like that used to hold us together, was gone. And I don't know that it's really come back. So from an events perspective, what is it like trying to get people back together post-COVID?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously we pivoted to virtual events or hybrid events with the ever-changing mandates in Kentucky and beyond. Pre-COVID, we were out of the state a couple times a month at least. Post-COVID, in our busy season, maybe we're out of the state once a month. But it's been a slow road back to pre-pandemic levels. Now, I will say people are gathering again, but you see more and more that people want an option for a hybrid or virtual experience in addition to the in-person option. The biggest thing we've seen is that people don't meet in person as much anymore. They may come to the actual event in person, but even our team, we're now an all remote team, and we don't meet in person unless it's, a site visit or something like that where you physically have to be there. Very rarely will we meet in person. It's all done virtually. Now, it's made things a lot more conducive and a lot more productive, but you lose a little bit of that, in-person magic. So people are slowly coming back. But I will say groups are a lot more intentional with what they're producing and how they're producing it, how often they're producing it, which I'm sure, has to do with a number of things, but also mostly about their clientele. Are they coming back in person or not? So it's continually changing, but.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get into your book.
Yeah.
And this goes, you have catchphrases, you have things that your friends say you say all the time,
Yes.
and it's so worth it. Right.
Yes.
So talk to me about the title of the book. Why is it so worth it? And what is so worth it to do?
Yeah. So worth it is one part tragic memoir. Second part is a entrepreneur's guidebook, if you will. So this has been a multi-year, 10+ year journey writing this. And it started as my personal journal. It was not supposed to be seen by the public. I didn't have business partners when I first started my business. It was just me. And I needed somebody to vent to, and my family was tired of hearing me rant. And, significant others really don't get it. And to be honest, don't want to hear that all the time. And you can't really complain about your employees to your employees. So I started journaling, and I like to write, but typically it's not for other people to see. So this journal, I started to realize, had kind of some themes, 12 themes: the woes of getting started, branding and marketing, employees. I have great employees now, by the way, just so we're clear in case they're watching. Investors, financial issues, cash flow problems, et cetera, et cetera. So
Yeah.
kind of put it together in some separate chapters, and then kind of sat on it for a couple of years, and then wrote a little more, and then sat on it. And then I was going to publish it in 2018, and things fell through and it didn't work out. And it's probably for the best, because then in 2019, I had a business file bankruptcy. So there's a section on that. And then, of course, we all remember 2020 went through the global pandemic. So there's some things in there on that. And then sold some businesses in 22 and 23. So, it probably was for a reason that I did not publish it in 2018, but I found some really great publishers, and they have finally put the finishing touch. They removed a lot of cuss words. And it's great and palatable for people. But pre-sale is September 24th, and then it ships and is officially published on November 24th. So I'm very excited, but it takes you through 12 chapters, and it's great if somebody is starting a business or wants to start a business. Somebody has recently started, but they're in the early stages and they're just not sure what's next. Somebody that doesn't think they'll own a business, but they want to kind of capture that entrepreneurial mindset to manage someone else's business without the risk. Any of those folks, or you just want to read someone else's epic failures. It's a great book for that. So it's a lot of do as I say, not as I've done. Here are all the ways that I did these things terribly wrong. I mean, it's a very raw, like real numbers, real data, real stories, some of which even the publisher read and was like, did this really happen? And I was like, oh yeah, unfortunately it did. So, and then it takes you through, kind of how not to make those mistakes, right? I lost lots of money making these mistakes. So hopefully I can save you $1 or $2 by not doing it on the back end. And then there's lots of bonus content on the website. So, you read a chapter and it really resonates with you, or it's something you really want to work on, there are worksheets and community forums and all kinds of things on the website that comes with the book to help kind of continue that work. So hopefully it's beneficial.
I love it. All right.
If not, it's really entertaining for somebody.
So inquiring minds want to know, what is your favorite story from the book?
Ooh, that would depend on your definition of favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I teach this in my intro to entrepreneurship class a lot about partnerships and how important partnerships are, especially when you start your business or you're starting a new business from scratch. So there's one vendor in there who is mentioned a couple of times, and she's a florist locally. And not only was she a great partner to me when I started out, just allowing me to vent, and she owns her business as well. And so, we talked a lot about that. But when we filed bankruptcy for it was just me, when I filed bankruptcy for one of the companies I had, the largest company, she really was the reason that I was able to keep going, not just mentally and emotionally, but also financially. I mean, she helped me get back on my feet by kind of coaching me through and cheering me on. And I mean, I was ready I thought business bankruptcy was the end of my life. I mean, I truly thought that was it. And I'm not saying that it wasn't scary, and I'm not saying people should elect to do it. It was not fun, and nor it was cheap. So don't do that. But
yeah, right.
I thought it was the end, and it wasn't. I didn't die. So, and she really was the one that kind of showed me that this is not the end. And then she let me, pay her back over time. Like, she let us, when I opened a new company, rack up bills and pay an installment so we could float some cash flow. And she just was a really good partner. She bails me out of things and I bail her out, and a client needs something they didn't ask for, and her and I figure out how to make it happen. And she's just a really good partner. And I hope she feels the same way about me. But it's something that I teach in entrepreneurship quite a bit, is that these partners, especially in the beginning, can make or break your business, right? And she was one of those that truly helped make the business. And then we could refer clients to her, and we knew the quality we were going to get. And we knew we could put our, stamp of approval on her work, and that it would show up like that every time. So, there's a whole failure that comes before that story. But, I think that's one of the more meaningful pieces in the book, is the importance of people like that in your business.
What I love about that is, in my experience, when you work in corporate America and you close a deal, you finish a negotiation, you do whatever, it's just business. I mean, you might you celebrate with the team because that's what you should do from a leadership perspective, but ultimately it's just another day. And you go home and you tell your wife, "Oh, we did it," and then you go back to work the next day. When a client buys something from you as a small business, it's like a personal connection.
Wow.
Like, you trusted me, personally, to do this thing for you. And it's so much more rich than when you get a client or a new client or close a big deal with a corporation.
Absolutely.
And so many of us work at the corporations or the larger company or somebody else's employees. I don't think it, one of the reasons that I think it's so worth it to do it is because it brings real humanity back to the conversation, which is what you're talking about with a partner.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of partners when I was in corporate America who we really had each other's back, like truly ride or die, we're doing this thing together. But in the entrepreneur community, it's much more that way. And
Oh yeah.
Because we see each other fail and we're like, hey, dust yourself off, keep going. Anyway, I love that aspect. And I love that that's the story that you chose, because I think that is one of the major reasons that we should do this.
Well, and for entrepreneurs, I feel like so I started the podcast, Big Ideas, Small Business, which coincides quite a bit, or coordinates, I don't know what I was trying to say there, with the book quite a bit, because it's topics that as small business owners, we don't normally talk about. So Big Ideas, Small Business started because I would talk to fellow small business owners, and I thought, they had everything figured out. They had it together. Their team was awesome. They were killing it. They had tons of cash. Their social media looked great. And I'm over here like, how is it that I'm having all these problems? And then I would talk to them one-on-one, and they were like, absolutely not. It's a dumpster fire over here. We just don't put that on social media, obviously. So
Right.
I realized quickly that we all have these same problems. We all have cash flow issues from time to time. We all have employee issues when we're starting out. We're all trying to figure out what our workplace culture is, and, how to price clients and how to fire a client that's not the right fit. And we just aren't talking about it. So I feel like, if nothing else, this book will give some other already established business owners that kind of piece of like, okay, I'm not the only one that's dealt with this. I'm not the only one that's had an incessant investor that way overstepped and you want to immediately fire, but you have their money and so you can't.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Which I had several. So
all right. So you have this experience, you have this book, folks can go to your website. Let me pull it back up here on the screen. KaelynQuery.com. You can get the book. It's on pre-order, September 24th. But I don't think that this is a book that's just for folks that are starting their business. Maybe they're kind of struggling there in the early stages. It seems to me that intrapreneurs, people that are at larger corporate things that, or leaders at corporate things that say, you know what, we need to run this business more like a small business. We need that entrepreneur spark in our organization. This seems like a really good resource for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and we talk a lot about this at Transy, that not everyone has the risk tolerance to launch a business, right? There's a lot of risk. There's a lot that you have to give up, not just in money, but in time. The number of celebrations and holidays and football tailgates and birthdays that I missed trying to launch this business, you don't take it for granted. And you're broke for a very long time. I had a student that said, I want to own my own business because I want to have financial freedom. And I was like, good luck, bud, because it's a while down the road. But, there are people who don't want to risk their own capital, but still operate like an entrepreneur. You're the first one there and the last one to leave. And you create a product or a service or treat your clients or customers as if your name is on the bottom line, right? And we love those people, and they're hard to find, but they've got that entrepreneurial spirit. They just don't want to put their money on the line, and that's fine, right? We need all of those people. So I think there are also some lessons to be learned in this book from folks who maybe aren't necessarily creating their own thing, but want to run a business as if it's their own. And those people are hard to find, but once you find them, you hang on to them. And there are some stories in there about mistakes I made with my team early on. Great employees that I lost because we were growing too fast. We didn't have our process and procedure in place. We didn't have the right training. We were selling like crazy. We were too payroll heavy. I could go on and on. So,
Actually,
it's
you're selling like crazy, but you don't have your processes in place.
Right.
Almost all of my clients, right before they hire me, they hire a sales, like a social media team or a sales team. Like, we need more sales. And then their life goes haywire because the only reason they were making it work is because two people in the organization were just like grabbing a hold of it like strong men and just like holding the columns up.
Yeah.
And so I end up, this is very common for me, is I'll go in and I'll be like, okay, no more sales. And they're like, no, we need more sales. I'm like, no, you're losing more customers than you're getting.
Right.
Let's just start executing, get you some freedom back. Totally.
Right. And that was part of our problem, right? Like, we were selling like crazy because we were payroll heavy. So I had to sell in order to cover their payroll. But then it was like, well, they don't actually know what they're doing. And they knew what they were doing, but we didn't have the right process in place. So who's in charge? And I was like, I don't know, not me, because I'm selling over here. And we were taking business that we shouldn't have had because it wasn't the right fit with our company and our mission. We didn't have the capacity. And then you start losing clients because you're not producing a high quality product because you're too busy and you miss things. And it was just nuts. I mean, I remember early in my career, we had multiple seasons where we would go. I remember when there was 56 days in a row with no day off. There was another like 70 something day in a row with no day off. And we all just kept looking at each other like, we just have to keep going. We have to keep going. But then it's like, okay, so we've hired another person to help with the workload. Now we got to sell so we can pay for that person. So, had I figured out the process and procedure and the HR and all that on the front end, we wouldn't have had that problem. But then I also wouldn't have had a book. So I guess here we are.
So I run into this too. So again, I spent a long time in corporate America leading engineers. So these are people that have bachelor's and master's degrees.
Yeah.
Same problems. Exact same problems. And actually what I found was that the more educated the person was, the less they wanted to follow the process and procedure.
Right.
And a good deal of my time was always helping them understand, no, we follow this process. It is not perfect, but it allows us all to communicate correctly. And it
Yeah.
allows us to stay on pace and produce a good quality product over and over again. It can be a little bit restricting, and it maybe is not the perfect solution every time. But the way I always told people was, do you want your pilot to use his checklist every time? Or are you
Right.
cool with the airline pilot just kind of winging it? And everybody's like, no, I want my pilot to use a checklist. I'm like, all right,
Right.
well, as a professional, I would like you
As
to use a
should you.
checklist.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. There's lots of skills. You said you have 12 chapters. I have a system we said there's 6 aspects to your business. I'm sure we could split each of those in half and get to 12
Yeah.
pretty quick. All right, here I am. I'm working, maybe my first, second job. I'm getting out of college. I'm like, I want to play this entrepreneur game. What one skill should I master before I say, yes, I'm ready to go be an entrepreneur?
Oh, you cut out there. What one skill should you master before what?
What one skill should you master before you take the leap and kind of step off the edge and become an entrepreneur? I have the skill that I think is in my head, but I want to hear what your thoughts are.
If I had to pick one, I think organization for me, and maybe that's because that's what is required for my industry, but I can get a lot done in a 24-hour period. Now, part of it's because I have no boundaries, but I can get a lot done in a 24-hour period if I can stay organized.
Yeah.
And I do that through a number of things, time blocking, and, we've got a project management portal that we use, but a better quality product. And if you're a solopreneur, having that organization while you scale your business is absolutely crucial.
Yes.
I think that's my answer. That's what I'm sticking with.
I've actually heavily thought about, seriously, I've kind of sketched it out already, thought about a service where folks pay me $20 a week or something, and they just show up and do a daily stand-up with me.
Yeah.
Where they just have to tell me, this is what I'm doing today. Like, great.
Yeah.
I know that I took super, super intelligent, talented people in corporate America, and just the daily stand-up where they were forced to articulate, I'm going to do this amount of work today.
Yeah.
I did get what I thought I was going to get done yesterday done. And this is what I need help with, or these are my roadblocks. That little exercise, it has a massive effect. And when we're the boss, sometimes we need it. Actually, when I worked at Lockheed for 4 years, I hired a guy to be my boss. He actually, in the org structure, he worked for me. He was a engineering planner, but I told him, I'm in charge on Monday from 10 to 11, and I'm going to tell you everything we're going to do for the whole week. And we're going to put out the schedule, but the rest of the week, you're in charge of me and the team to keep us time blocked. Yeah.
We don't do that every day, but our team does do it once a week. So we have a team sync, and we go through what each person is working on, what they need help with, what they have questions on, what do we need to kind of hammer down, what's coming up this week, things like that. And it does help, it helps flag issues before it's gone weeks and weeks and weeks and hasn't been addressed. We haven't done it every day, but we do it once a week.
No, yeah, every team has a different rhythm. We had 25 people on our team, so we needed to talk.
Yeah.
It was just hard to do.
Yeah.
I think sales is an underrated skill. I think that we all avoid it. And again, I grew up from engineering, so I'm a product guy fundamentally. But I think sales and storytelling is, if I was going to, my daughter's just going
on. That's a good one. I should have picked that. Sales
you're naturally
and
good
storytelling is good.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, when you're a solopreneur, you have to get real good at selling yourself, selling your product. I teach an entire chapter in Intro to Entrepreneurship on sales, and they're always like, oh, I don't want to be in sales. And I'm like, everyone's in sales, even if you're not in sales. Sales may not be in your title, but you're selling something. You're selling yourself for a raise. You're selling your idea to another department that's going to execute or sell it or market it. Everyone's in sales. You're selling your business, your product, your service. I've got to sell the team that our potential client doesn't even get to see during the sales process. Everyone's selling something. So
yes,
that's a good one.
Yeah. Okay, so you got a book. So,
Mhm.
if you're watching the show right now, go check out her book, KaelynQuery.com.
Yeah.
The book is on sale on the 24th, November
And
24th.
actually, it's on sale right now for those who are listening to this show for a special rate.
Awesome. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about your day job at Transy. I guess your
Yeah.
like side day job, your other day
Yeah.
job. What
75 jobs.
all right, you got what is your like 5-meter targets? Like what do you want to accomplish by December? And what is your vision for Transy over the next couple of years? Because I want to challenge the audience to get involved, if not with
Yeah.
Transy, which obviously you should, but with your local
Yeah.
entrepreneur team. What are your goals?
Yeah. So I'm there Monday through Friday. And my goal selfishly to would be that this Center for Entrepreneurship becomes the hub at Transy. Now, there are other departments that would disagree with that, right? Because they want their department to be the hub of Transy. But I want all of the students to want and feel a need to engage with the center, right? If they want, like I said, to go to law school, but maybe they own their own firm one day, or they operate their book of business within a firm as if they're an entrepreneur. I want an art student or a music student to say, okay, I'm going to launch a music studio, or I'm going to, be an artist and commission my work. That's a business. So how do they commission their work? How do they price it? And what do they do if someone argues with the price because it's an arbitrary number in the grand scheme? How do you say no to that? How do you lease studio space? And what do you need in a contract for that studio space? And what kind of EIN do you need to have? And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I want them to be prepared for that, because sometimes, like me, you stumble into entrepreneurship. I didn't think I was going to be a business owner. I enjoyed what I did, and apparently I was good at it, but I never thought that I would be self-employed. And then all of a sudden 13 years went by and I was like, oh my gosh, I have been self-employed for 13 years. So I want these students to come to this center and engage in these ways and be able to leave with real metrics and real mechanics and real skills, right? Whether they're going to work for somebody else or work for themselves, I want them to be able to leave doing that. I also coach students on campus. So we are launching businesses, right? If they're ready, I want them to leave with a fully launched and hopefully fully funded business.
Yeah.
Connecting them with lenders and, investors and lines of credit and things like that. I want to get them thinking about some of these other areas. You're really good at your thing, and maybe that's art for the previous example. But then what about accounting? And what about, law? And what about, you have to have these things to run a business, right? So either I'm going to teach you how to hire those people, or I'm going to teach you the basics of doing some of that on your own. Now, if you read the book, it'll tell you not to do that because it's got me in a lot of trouble. My attorney really loves me because I've paid her a lot of money to get me out of a lot of trouble. But, but I want them to be able to leave with that, right? I want them to create networks while they're there. They're already creating networks with faculty and staff and with other students, but I want them to engage with alumni. I want them to engage with stakeholders and community members who are in the industry that they are interested in. And I just want them to leave with a better understanding of entrepreneurship, and selfishly to probably leave with a business. I have 9 students I'm coaching right now or mentoring. And some of them, it's in a space that I don't understand, right? I've got one that's in tech. Tech is not my background. So connecting him with another university, connecting him with people who do that thing so that they can help him build this so that he can leave Transy with a full-fledged business. That's my 5-year goal. And then there's events, there's camps. I want to launch a dual credit program. We're launching a major and minor in entrepreneurship. I'm sure the people from Transy that are listening right now are like, she's lost her mind. Yeah. I got big goals, right? But, we're going to launch a financial literacy program. We're going to give students actual financial investment in their business. We're going to, and, I cannot take the credit. A lot of these things I'm just in the meeting or on the email, but there's other people that are creating it. The Center for Entrepreneurship is just the hub where it'll happen. That's the kind of thing we want to do at Transy. And they're uniquely positioned to be able to do that, right? One of the benefits of being a smaller university is that we can be a little more nimble. We can do some of these things that some of the bigger colleges can't do. And it's not a knock to them. They've got things that they offer that we can't physically offer because we're not big enough. But I think this is where we can do that. Now, controversially, I'm not big into pitch competitions, pitch programs, but Awesome Inc. UK, they have great pitch programs.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I am happy to support our students going over to those folks and learning from them. And Awesome Inc. has been a great partner of ours at Transy, as has UK. So, we're sending our students there. They're going through their programs. They're going through their pitch competitions. They're winning some of their money, which is great. And, I'd rather do that, right? Hospitality is not a pitchy industry. So I don't have a background in pitch. Now, listen, I love writing checks, right? I can be a judge for any pitch competition. I want to give out all the money, but we will not be hosting any pitch competitions at Transy. And everyone's always like, you got to do pitch. And we're not doing pitch.
Actually, I actually agree with this. I've coached over at Awesome Inc. for years and years and years for their pitch competition. And I've helped out at UK and I've judged at UK and I enjoy it. It's fun for me. I love seeing the energy. I love seeing the ideas. But they're, because that's the dominant thing that the entrepreneur community does in Kentucky, it kind of is skewed towards success is winning a competition or success is winning a grant from a competition. And success is getting customers and then delivering great products to those customers and then getting more customers.
Yeah.
That's the success. So I love your vision for the future there. What is the best way for me or for somebody else in the local region or actually external to the local region to connect with you so that they can see this vision actually get off the ground?
Yeah. So, we have lots of opportunities at Transy, or I do within the center. We always want to plug in guest speakers for the classes. We host monthly workshops and lunch and learns and keynote talks of all topics, right? We want them to see a variety of things that they might need. So if you go to the Transylvania University website and type in entrepreneurship, it'll pop up and all of my contact information is on there. Email is rquery@transy.edu. And I would love folks to reach out, come to a networking event and meet these students. You're looking for interns. We've got tons of students looking for internships and apprenticeships. You want to come present a topic about your organization or your industry. We would love that. Cybersecurity, law, medical, they want all of it and they are craving it. They're excited about it. So we would love for people to get involved. I mean, obviously, if you want to write us a check, we love checks too, The advancement office takes care of that, not of me. So it's great. They will put it in a good place. It's going to go to good use. But, we're really excited and we're in a unique position. We got a really good kickstart from a very generous donor and we're rocking. And Transy has said, let's do it. Tell us what we need. Tell us what we should do here. And they've been really great to take most of the things that I've suggested and run with it.
I love it.
I'm signing them up for a lot of things and they're kind of like, you should slow down. When we said take it and run with it, we didn't mean sign us up for 75 new programs, but you're on the right track.
Hey, entrepreneur, calm down.
Right. Yeah.
No, that's very cool. Well, we're running out of time on the show here. It's been super fun to have you on there. Again, the title of the show is Epic Failures Are So Worth It. If you want to figure out how to start your entrepreneur journey, maybe you're in the middle of your entrepreneur journey, I wanted to Kaelyn, I'm going to turn the floor over to you. Just kind of talk to the audience for 2 or 3 minutes here, and then we'll close out the show.
Yeah. So I invite you to check it out. Hopefully it's meaningful and supportive and it's probably a little funny. If you know me, then you'll think it's funny. Although there are videos on the website for that added content that kind of talks you through each chapter and where I was at that point in time in my business, in my life, financially. A lot of real data in there. So if you are new to entrepreneurship, or even if you've been in it for a few years and you feel like you're kind of stuck or you're alone, just know that you're not, that it is definitely so worth it. And it may take a few years to see that bigger picture, but you didn't die and it's definitely worth it. So KaelynQuery.com, and hopefully we'll see you on the webs.
Yeah. So again, listen, Kaelyn is being a little bit humble here. She is very accomplished. She has started business. She's run businesses. She's experienced everything in that spectrum. And she has this amazing book with 12 chapters to help you walk your way through it. If you are looking to start a business, or if you are an entrepreneur in a company and you're trying to figure out what the entrepreneur life is really like and how you can take those lessons for the business, Or if you own a business, you own a larger, mid-size, or even an enterprise business, you're trying to figure out, how do I foster this entrepreneur spirit in my business so we can innovate and navigate the waters ahead. Check out Kaelyn Query's book, So Worth It. Put a book club together at your office. Reach out to Kaelyn, connect with Transy, hire some kids, bring some kids along from Transy.
Yes.
And with that, we are out.